everyone. Welcome to the brand new episode of Info Corner podcast. I'm very excited to have a guest speaker on my podcast today, and we will be discussing on robotic process automation, that is RPA. Our guest is Kiran, who has very good knowledge on RPA. But before we start our conversation, please make sure to subscribe to Info Corner podcast and to follow on Instagram. Episodes are also available on Spotify and Amazon Music. So, without any delay, let's get started. Hi, Kiran. Welcome to Info Corner podcast. I know there is so much to talk about RPA, but before we do that, please can you introduce about yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I hope you're having a good day. This is Kiran from India, a working professional in IT industry for 6 years, of which 5 years of my experience is on RPA tools and technologies. And my interests are basically mostly into sports like cricket, badminton, both playing and watching. And I like to travel to different places. And I love being with nature, being with where there's a lot of greenery. So yeah, that's a short introduction.
Thank you for your introduction. Would you like to tell us about your journey in RPA, like how it started, how is it going, and how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I got my campus placement like many of you, and in my first company, and I was trained on few ETL tools, Java programming in my first year. Later on, I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to get trained and work on RPA tools, namely Blue Prism and UiPath. I have automated like couple of business process in my first company, and later on, I switched to a banking and finance based company, which is my current employer. Been around 3 plus years in the current company where I have automated good amount of business process. So far, it's going pretty well. And also, as you know, being in IT industry, whatever the skills that you have, you just have to keep up. Upgrading or upskilling yourself with the latest tools, technologies, and programming languages, so that to have a good career growth.
Good to know you're enjoying your RPA career. Can you tell us more about RPA and about its history?
RPA basically stands for robotic process automation. It's a technology in which we have many tools which are used to build software robots by automating the business process that are basically rule based, which contain structured data. Which will have a lot of volumes and which needs to run for larger period, like maybe 24/7 also. For someone who doesn't have any knowledge of RPA, to give an example of what would be the process that we automate. So let's take, you are working in a company where your role is to keep looking at your mailbox, where you receive certain emails with specific subjects or which contain few attachments, like let's say Excel files, where you just have to download them and then look into the data, like maybe some details of customers or something, and then upload the perform some validations, basic conditions, decisions or something, which are general, like if like basic logics actually. So once that is done, you just have to enter the data in a different application, whatever you receive on a Excel file, which will generate a ID, maybe a reference ID or something. So the same you just have to update in this Excel file, and then reply back or send the attachment to the original email. So this is just a basic example to have an understanding. So the same steps that I just described, we can easily automate with the help of RPA tools, and schedule the process so that it keeps checking the email, reads the emails, downloads the attachments and performs or whatever the activities that we have, and update the data into the application, and replies back to the original email. So it can be easily automated with the help of RPA tools. The term RPA, robotic process automation, it actually emerged in early 2000s, but it had its primary developments in 1990s. And recently, RPA's growth had been at a rapid pace in the past few years, and its impact is higher than you could possibly imagine. And the reason being that advancement in the late capabilities of the RPA tools, and also industries and organizations looking at many ways to increase the workflow efficiency, to cut organizational costs, and also to head towards the digital transformation.
If I decide to learn something or plan for a switch, few of those things probably I would look at would be the current and future demands of that particular thing. I'm sure many people out there would be curious to know the current demand and future of RPA. So please tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, with respect to the demands currently, I mean, there is very good, I mean, demand in the market for RPA. The main reason being, as I just explained you about what RPA is, like it can be implemented in every enterprise or every industry, where they'll have a lot of processes, back office processes that involve mundane tasks, which can be easily automated. And but when we come to the future, like I mean, to keep growing in the future, these RPA tools they need to evolve. Like I mean, they need to come up with various features that help in integration and adoption of latest trends in the market. Like for example, I mean, you might have heard about document processing, right? Like, I mean, we'll get a lot of invoices, where I mean, business has to read some data, perform some validations, do some reconciliation, and then update those data into a different application. So kind of data entry also. So I mean, like reading the data from the documents, if it's a structured one, straightforward one, it is pretty easy for RPA. But if it has unstructured data and if it needs to read some signatures or something, it needs good OCR technologies with, I mean, like better AI and ML models, which help in extracting the unstructured data effectively. So this is just an example where I mean, which is required for the RPA tools to, I mean, come up with various features to be in the market in the future. So that is on the current and future demand.
It is really interesting to know RPA will evolve along with AI and ML and remain as one of the hottest skills in the market for a longer period. I just wanted to check with you to know if you have faced any challenges while working with RPA.
I mean, like every tool or every technology, I mean, even RPA has its cons, like the disadvantages or challenges basically. So, for example, let's say you have automated a process based on an application, and after a few months, the application gets upgraded to a newer version where its UI has changed or its backend IDs or something has changed. So it needs the automation that you develop to be retested again. Like you need to run the process again and see if the automation is working effectively or not. If not, I mean, it might or might not, like it might need few rework again, some rework, which can be a small work or which can be a larger work also based on the changes that have happened. So this is one challenge, because basically, I mean, the applications keep getting upgraded, right? I mean, with the newer versions. So this is one challenge. And the other one to name, basically, let's say you have joined a new company, I mean, like with an experience of RPA, and there would be, I mean, number of automations that are running in production, which might need few fixes now and then actually. So I mean, to do that fix, you need to understand the automation, like which was developed by a different developer. So if it's a complex automation, it needs, I mean, to deep dive actually to understand everything at bespoke level, like at each activity. So which is a tedious activity. I mean, it's so that's the challenge. So these are the two basic challenges.
Kiran, maybe this question is too short, but I think the answer is going to be lengthy. So, what are the roles and duties in RPA, and what type of skills are most needed?
When it comes to roles and responsibilities of an RPA developer, uh, firstly, I mean, on the skill set, right? I mean, you just need to have good analytical skills basically to start off as a beginner. But to be a complete and very good RPA developer, you should have knowledge of programming. But I mean, basically, as I said, basically, I mean, it depends on the business process that you are automating, and also on the complexity level. Like if it needs to be, I mean, need to write some coding, like different activities, different features. So you should have the knowledge of coding also. That is on the, I mean, the skill sets actually. And when it comes to the roles, I mean, roles they depend within, I mean, like they vary within an organization, like based on their team structure. Where I mean, few teams will have proper business analysts, proper scrum masters, proper management team. But typically, I mean, like an RPA developer, initially he just have to understand the business process that has come up for automation. Like I mean, he just have to understand the various tasks involved in the process at bespoke level. And like with the help of business, or there is a documentation which is prepared initially, which we call as process definition document. So once he understands those, then he has to test the feasibility of the applications involved, like whether RPA tools are able to talk with the application, interact with the application effectively, or are there any challenges? If so, it would need further discussion accordingly. Once these initial steps are done, then the next steps are typically the four major steps that involved in software development life cycle, which you might be well known. Like to design, develop, test, and then implement the same. So these are the key stages that are involved. And once it's developed and tested properly, right? Once the sign off is provided to move to production, like the developer has to provide a hypercare support for few days or weeks, depending on the process and its complexity, and until the automation is stable. Later on, he just have to give a KT, the knowledge transfer, to the support team. So typically, these are the roles and responsibilities of a RPA developer.
You mentioned you would require programming or coding skills. So is that specific to any technology, or can you, generally pick up any technology and try to do automation on it?
Basically, RPA tools have .NET. They are developed based on .NET actually. All the activities and features, but also it has capabilities. To write the programming. To have the programming skills in C hash, and also it can integrate with Python scripts also. So it has the capability to leverage all the major programming. The languages that we have, but .NET is the basic programming required.
So my next question is, what kind of trainings or certifications do you recommend for RPA aspirants?
Trainings basically, all the existing RPA vendors, right? Big, like in the market currently, we have UiPath as the major RPA vendor or tool, and followed by Blue Prism and Automation Anywhere. So respectively, each and every vendor or tool has its own trainings available in their websites, in their academy websites, which are well organized actually. And they also provide the community editions to have a hands-on experience. So, and certifications, as I said, each and every vendor has its own developer certifications to start with. Then it comes level one developer certification, then would be level two, and then there would be solution architect. And as such, there are different level of certifications. Keeping the developer aside, also there are other certifications which are well defined and which are available in their respective websites actually.
And do these certifications come with a registration fee or something like that?
Correct. Before they were used to be free, but currently I guess almost all the major three vendors that I just described, they do come with the registration fees. So when it comes to UiPath, I guess it's around 5,000 rupees. It's approximate actually, I'm not sure, but it may vary with other tool also. So yeah, they do come up with registration fee.
How long does it take to fully learn RPA?
So basically, for a beginner, if you ask me, if he has a good analytical skills, so it doesn't take. He can, get trained and get familiarized with the RPA tools within a month actually. Provided, he has good analytical skills, so it doesn't take longer than that. As there are a good amount of trainings available, good amount of open source videos available in YouTube also. So it doesn't take more than a month.
There might be some of them who are not really interested in coding but would be looking to learn tools, and RPA might be one of them. So, is it possible to work on RPA without coding?
Yeah, it is possible. As I said, RPA tools basically have drag and drop features, which is kind of a low code or no code tool. To be a beginner, to start your career, you can definitely start, look at RPA without any programming knowledge, where you would be able to automate basic tasks with the help of the features available.
I'm curious to know the salary ranges for different levels in RPA. So, how about that?
When it comes to the salaries, they vary basically. Like based on the skills, based on the experience of the resource. They vary. I mean, they can start with the normal IT employee gets like around 3 or 4 lakhs, and also it can go till 20 lakhs also, provided his skills are, I mean, his skills and experience are valuable, and he has, other than like as I mentioned, he has all the programming skills that are required, and also, I mean, the has experience or ML or AI models which might be required based on the process automation that you are doing. So it basically depends on skills and experience, and it has different set of salary ranges also. Also, it depends on the I mean, like requirement. Let's say a consulting firm has I mean, acquired a project from a different company, and then they have a demand for 5 or 10 resources. So based on the demand, based on the availability of resources, they can give and pay you well also. So it varies actually. There is no fixed value.
Haha, the numbers are really tempting. Can you shed some light on the companies that have RPA job opportunities?
When it comes to the companies, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, like RPA can be implemented in actually every enterprise, every industry and organization also. But when it comes to name a few, like all the MNCs, big IT companies that we have, like TCS, Accenture, Infosys, Wipro, all of them have RPA, I mean, implemented. They have developers working on currently, and also all the big four consulting firms like Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, and EY. So they do have, I mean, they do have very good amount of demand also currently in the market. So basically, I mean, like it can be implemented in every sector, like IT, banking, finance and accounting, healthcare, automobile. So that's the reason you see in the market that there is good amount of demand for RPA, and there are good amount of jobs available because of widespread.
It was wonderful talking to you, and thank you so much for sharing all your experiences and knowledge on RPA.
Thank you, Suma. I was following all your videos, and I see you are coming up with very good topics. And I wish you the best of luck to come up with many more topics in the future and keep spreading knowledge to everyone.
Thank you, Kiran. Hey folks, so that was all about RPA. I hope you enjoyed. So see you in the next one. Till then, take care, keep smiling, and bye.